The year was 2347. Humanity had been part of the Galactic Council for 42 years. In that time, humans had shown themselves to be good at many things. They were smart traders. They were skilled builders. They made friends easily with other species. The 12 older species in the Council had welcomed them, though some had their doubts. Earth had grown rich and strong under this arrangement. Admiral Catherine Webb stood on the observation deck of her starship, the Resilience. She watched as Earth grew smaller behind them. The blue and green planet looked so peaceful from up here. Catherine was 53 years old. She had spent most of her life serving in the fleet. Her hair was turning gray at the edges, and lines marked her face from years of hard work. But her eyes were still sharp, and her mind was still quick. She loved this view of Earth. It reminded her why she did this job. Down there were billions of people living their lives. Families eating dinner together. Children playing in parks. Old people sitting in the sun. All of them depended on the fleet to keep them safe. A young officer walked up behind her. His name was Danny Ortiz. He was only 25, fresh from the academy. His face looked worried. "Admiral, we have a message from Geneva," Danny said. "It is from Ambassador Paulson. He says it is very important." Catherine nodded and walked to the communications room. The face of Gregory Paulson appeared on the screen. Gregory was Earth's main voice in the Galactic Council. He had spent 30 years trying to make friends among the alien species. Usually, he looked calm and confident. Today, he looked scared. "Catherine, we have a big problem," Gregory said. He did not waste time with greetings. The Council just made a new rule. They call it Directive 7742. What does it say? Catherine asked. Gregory took a deep breath. They want us to give up all our warships. They want us to take down our defense systems around Earth and our colonies. They say humans are too dangerous. They say we might start wars. We have 90 days to do what they ask. If we do not, they will stop all trade with us. They will surround our home system with their ships. Catherine felt cold inside. Why would they do this? What did we do wrong? The Kethrani complained about us, Gregory explained. The Kethrani were a reptile-like species with 4 eyes and scales that change color. They say we are being aggressive. They say our expansion into the Outer Rim is a threat to everyone. But those systems were empty, Catherine said. Nobody owned them. We followed all the rules when we claimed them. I know, Gregory said. But the Kethrani wanted those planets. They wanted the minerals and metals there. When we got there first, they got angry. So they went to the Council and told lies about us. Catherine turned to look out the window at the stars. Each point of light was a sun, maybe with planets around it. Humans had worked so hard to reach those stars. They had dreamed of exploring the galaxy since they first looked up at the night sky. And now the Council wanted to take that away from them. How did the vote go? She asked. 8 species voted against us. Only 4 voted to support us. The Kethrani convinced almost everyone that we are dangerous. Catherine thought about what this meant. Without weapons, Earth would be helpless. There were pirates in the outer systems. There were rogue fleets that did not follow any laws. There were species that were not part of the Council who might want to hurt humans. If Earth had no way to fight back, any of them could attack. What does President Santos say? Catherine asked. She is calling a meeting of the World Council. Every nation will send someone to talk about this. But Catherine, I need you to understand something. If we do what they ask, we put ourselves in great danger. We would have no way to protect our people. And if we say no? Gregory did not answer right away. The silence told Catherine everything she needed to know. Saying no meant fighting the entire galaxy. That night, Catherine could not sleep. She walked through the ship, checking on her crew. Most of them were sleeping in their bunks. They did not know yet what was coming. They did not know that their whole world might change soon. She found herself in the engine room, watching the great machines that pushed the ship through space. A young engineer named Carol Rodriguez was working late, checking the power levels. "Admiral," Carol said with surprise. "Is something wrong?" Catherine shook her head. "Just thinking, Carol. Tell me, why did you join the fleet?" Carol smiled. "My grandmother used to tell me stories about the first ships that left Earth. She said humans were meant to explore. She said the stars were calling us. I wanted to answer that call. And what if someone tried to stop us? What if someone said humans should stay home and never go out into space again?" Carol's smile faded. "Then I would say they do not know humans very well. We have been explorers since we lived in caves. We crossed oceans in small boats. We climbed the highest mountains. We went to the moon with rockets that were less powerful than the phone in my pocket. Nobody can stop us from reaching for the stars. It is who we are." Catherine nodded slowly. "Thank you, Carol. That helps more than you know." She walked back to her quarters, but she still did not sleep. She sat at her desk and wrote a letter to her daughter back on Earth. Lisa was 28 now, married with a baby on the way. Catherine might become a grandmother soon. She wanted her grandchild to grow up in a galaxy where humans were free, where they could go anywhere and do anything they dreamed of. The next morning, Catherine called her senior officers together. She told them about Directive 7742. She watched their faces change from confusion to anger to determination. Commander Samuel Drake was the first to speak. He was a big man with a bald head and hands like stone. "They want us to give up our ships? After everything we built?" "That is what they are asking," Catherine said. "And if we refuse, then we might have to fight." Samuel looked around at the other officers. Then he looked back at Catherine. "Admiral, I joined this fleet to protect humanity, not to protect the Council. If they force us to choose, I know which side I'm on." One by one, the other officers nodded. They were scared. Catherine could see it in their eyes. But they were also ready. Humans had faced impossible odds before. They had always found a way. Catherine stood up. "For now, we wait. The World Council will decide what we do next. But I want everyone to be ready. Check every system. Train every day. If war comes, we will not be caught by surprise." As her officers left to do their work, Catherine looked out at the stars one more time. The galaxy suddenly seemed darker than before. But somewhere out there, humans were building new homes, raising families, making futures. They deserved to be free. Whatever the Council decided, Catherine would fight for that freedom. It was the human way. The World Council building in Geneva was very old. It had stood for over 300 years, through wars and peace, through good times and bad. Today, it was full of people. Representatives from every country on Earth had come. Leaders from the Mars colonies were there. People from the moon bases and the stations around Jupiter had made the long trip. Everyone wanted to have their say. President Maria Santos walked to the center podium. She was a small woman, but when she spoke, everyone listened. Her dark hair was pulled back tight, and her brown eyes looked at every face in the room. Behind her, giant screens showed the words of Directive 7742. Everyone could read exactly what the Council was demanding. "We have heard from our diplomats," Maria began. "We have heard from our military leaders. We have heard from our scientists. Now I want to hear from you. What should humanity do when our friends turn against us? What should we do when they demand we give up the very things that keep us safe?" The room was quiet for a moment. Then Senator Harold Pike stood up. He was from the North American Federation, an older man with white hair and a round face. He had been in politics for 40 years. We must do what they ask, Harold said. The Council has kept peace in this galaxy for 8,000 years. 8,000 years without a major war. We have been members for less than 50 years. We are still new. We are still learning. Who are we to say they are wrong? Some people nodded at his words. Others shook their heads. Harold continued. If we refuse, we will have to fight against ships from a dozen different species. We will have to fight against technology that is thousands of years more advanced than ours. We cannot win that fight. We will lose everything. He sat down, and the room buzzed with quiet talk. Then, Dr. Linda Murray stood up. She lived on Titan Station, far out near Saturn. Her skin was very pale because she rarely saw natural sunlight. Her body was thin from living in low gravity, but her voice was strong. Senator Pike talks about peace, Linda said. But what kind of peace is this? The Kethrani did not want peace. They wanted the minerals we found. They wanted the planets we claimed. We followed every rule. We did everything right. But because we got there first, they ran to the Council with lies. She walked forward so everyone could see her face. This directive is not about keeping peace. It is about keeping us down. The older species do not want us to become powerful. They do not want us to become equal to them. They want to make sure humans always stay small and weak. More voices joined in. Some agreed with Harold. They said the risk was too great. They said humanity was not ready to stand alone. Others agreed with Linda. They said giving up their weapons would be giving up their future. The arguments went back and forth for hours. Outside the building, crowds had gathered. Millions of people watched on their screens at home. This was the most important decision humanity had ever made. Everyone knew that what happened today would change everything. As the sun began to set, General Marcus Cole walked to the podium. He was 64 years old, tall and straight. His uniform was covered with medals from battles most people had forgotten. He had spent his whole life learning how to protect humanity. I have been a soldier since I was 18 years old, Marcus said. His voice was rough, like stones rubbing together. I have trained for every kind of war. I have studied every enemy we might face. I have built plans to defend Earth against threats from every direction. He paused and looked around the room. But I never thought the biggest threat would come from those we called allies. The room became very quiet. I understand fear, Marcus continued. I have been afraid many times. But I also understand something else. I understand what happens when you show weakness to those who want to hurt you. They do not become kinder. They become bolder. He walked slowly across the stage. If we give up our weapons, we are telling the galaxy something about ourselves. We are saying that humans can be pushed around. We are saying that if someone stronger than us makes a demand, we will do what they say. And once we start bending, they will not stop pushing until we break. A young woman stood up in the back. Her name was Patricia Vance. She was a commander in the fleet, only 34 years old, with short black hair and a scar on her left cheek. General Cole is right, Patricia said. I serve on a warship. I have seen what is out there in the dark spaces between stars. There are pirates who would love to raid Earth if we had no defenses. There are species not in the Council who think humans are weak. If we throw away our weapons, we are inviting them to attack us. An older diplomat named Charles Green spoke next. But what about trade? What about the technology we get from the Council? If they cut us off, our economy will suffer. People will lose jobs. Colonies that depend on imported food might starve. Then we will learn to feed ourselves, said a farmer named Robert from the Mars colonies. We will grow our own food. We will make our own technology. It will be hard, but we have done hard things before. Our ancestors crossed an ocean not knowing what they would find. They built cities in deserts. They made farms on frozen land. We can do this. The debate went on into the night. People argued and shouted. Some cried. Some laughed bitterly. Everyone knew that no matter what they decided, some people would be unhappy. Finally, after midnight, President Santos raised her hand. The room slowly became quiet. "We have talked enough," she said. "Now we must decide. The question is simple. Do we give the council what they want, or do we say no?" Every person in the room had a voting device. They had 1 minute to make their choice. Some pressed their buttons quickly. Others sat with their fingers hovering, thinking hard. When the minute was over, the results appeared on the big screens. 87% had voted no. The room erupted in noise. Some people cheered. Some people put their heads in their hands. A few walked out, too upset to stay. President Santos waited for the noise to die down. Then she spoke again. "The people have decided. Humanity will not give up its weapons. We will not take down our defenses. We will tell the council that we refuse their directive." She took a deep breath. "I will not lie to you. The days ahead will be difficult. We may have to fight for our survival. But I believe in this species. I believe in what we can do when we work together. We have faced extinction before. We have faced terrible odds. And we are still here." Outside, the crowds began to chant. The sound grew until it seemed to shake the building. Inside, the representatives started to leave, each one carrying the weight of what they had just decided. General Marcus Cole found Patricia Vance in the hallway. "Commander, are you ready for what comes next?" Patricia looked at him with steady eyes. "I joined the fleet to protect humanity, General. Whatever comes next, I will do my duty." Marcus nodded. "Good, because I think they are going to come for us soon. And when they do, we need to be ready." They walked out into the night together. Above them, the stars shone cold and bright. Somewhere out there, the council was already planning its next move. But so was humanity. The great experiment in galactic cooperation was ending. A new chapter was about to begin. 3 days after the vote, Ambassador Gregory Paulson stood in the great hall of the Galactic Council for the last time. He had walked through these doors hundreds of times before. He knew every corner of this building. He knew the names of every delegate. He had spent 30 years trying to make friends here. Today, everything felt different. The hall was huge, built to make visitors feel small. The seats rose up in levels, so the older species could look down on whoever was speaking. This was done on purpose. It was meant to remind younger species that they were not equals. Gregory walked to the speaking platform in the center. His footsteps echoed in the quiet room. He could feel hundreds of eyes watching him. The Kethrani delegate was there, his 4 eyes fixed on Gregory. The reptile's scales had turned a dark green color. This meant he was pleased with himself. The presiding arbiter called for attention. The arbiter was very old, from a species called the Verthan. They had been keeping order in the council for thousands of years. His voice was thin and cracked with age. "The council recognizes the representative from Earth. You may speak." Gregory had written a speech. He had spent 2 days choosing every word carefully. He wanted to be polite but firm. He wanted to explain humanity's position without making the council angrier than they already were. But as he stood there, looking up at all those alien faces, something changed inside him. He put his prepared speech away. "For 42 years, humanity has been part of this council," Gregory began. "We followed your rules. We kept your peace. We traded fairly with everyone. We shared our ideas and our art and our dreams. We asked for nothing except a chance to prove ourselves worthy." He paused, letting his words settle in the great hall. "We thought you would be fair to us. We thought that if we worked hard and did everything right, you would accept us as equals someday. We believed in this council. We believed in the dream of different species living together in peace. The Kethrani delegate shifted in his seat. Some of the other delegates looked uncomfortable. Gregory's voice grew harder. And how did you repay our trust? You listened to lies about us. You called us dangerous because we claimed planets that nobody wanted. You demanded that we throw away our weapons and leave our children defenseless. You gave us 90 days to become slaves or face your anger. The hall was completely silent now. No one had ever spoken to the council this way before. Humanity tried to be your friend, Gregory continued. We came to the stars with hope in our hearts. We wanted to learn from you. We wanted to share what we had learned. We wanted to build something good together. He reached into his pocket and pulled out a small chip. It was no bigger than his thumbnail, but it held the most important document in human history. He placed it on the speaking platform. This contains our formal withdrawal from the Galactic Council. From this moment, Earth and all human territories are no longer under your authority. We will defend our own borders. We will protect our own people. We will make our own way among the stars. Chaos erupted. Delegates shouted. Some jumped to their feet. The arbiter called for order, but nobody listened. Gregory had just done something that had never been done before. No species had ever left the council willingly. Gregory turned and began walking toward the exit. Behind him, the noise grew louder. He could hear angry voices calling for him to stop, demanding that he take back his words. The Kethrani delegate pushed his way to the front of his section. His scales had turned bright red, the color of rage. You are making a terrible mistake, human, the Kethrani shouted. The council does not forget those who defy it. You have just killed your own species. Gregory stopped walking. He stood still for a long moment, his back to the assembly. Then he spoke, loud enough for everyone to hear. Maybe you are right. Maybe we will die. But we will die as free people. We will die standing on our own 2 feet, not kneeling at yours. He walked out of the hall and did not look back. Outside, his assistant Betty Collins was waiting. She was young, only 26, with red hair and freckles. She had been with Gregory for 3 years. Her eyes were wide with fear. Sir, what do we do now? She asked. Gregory looked up at the alien sky. The council headquarters was on a station orbiting a gas giant. The giant planet filled half the sky, swirling with orange and brown clouds. It was beautiful in a strange way. Now we go home, Gregory said, and we get ready for what comes next. The journey back to Earth took 3 weeks. Gregory spent most of that time in his cabin, thinking. He thought about all the friends he had made among the other species. He thought about the dinners they had shared, the jokes they had told, the long conversations about philosophy and art, and the meaning of life. He thought about how quickly those friendships had disappeared when the Wayans Council voted against humanity. Most of his alien friends had stopped answering his messages. The few who did write back said they were sorry, but there was nothing they could do. Betty knocked on his door one evening. Sir, you should eat something. You have been in here for 2 days. Gregory opened the door. He looked tired and old. Betty, do you think we did the right thing? Betty thought about the question carefully. I think we did the only thing we could do, sir. Giving up our weapons would not have made them respect us. It would have made them think they could demand anything they wanted. But now we might have to fight a war we cannot win. Betty smiled. My grandmother used to say something. She said humans are like water. We find a way through any obstacle. We fill any space. We wear down any mountain. Maybe we cannot win a straight fight against the council. But humans have never been good at straight fights. We are good at surprising people. Gregory managed a small smile in return. Your grandmother sounds like a wise woman. She was. She also said that the universe respects those who refuse to give up. She said that when you show the universe you will not quit, sometimes the universe changes its mind about what is possible. When they arrived at Earth, crowds were waiting at the spaceport. Millions of people had come to see the man who had told the Galactic Council no. Some held signs thanking him. Others looked scared. Everyone wanted to know what would happen next. President Santos met Gregory at the landing pad. She shook his hand firmly. You did well, she said. I watched the recording of your speech. The whole planet watched. You said what needed to be said. I said what I felt, Gregory admitted. I threw away my prepared speech. Maria laughed. Sometimes that is the best kind of speech. The words that come from the heart are stronger than words written on paper. They walked together toward the waiting cars. Around them, the crowd cheered and called out. What happens now? Gregory asked. Maria's face grew serious. Now we prepare. The council will not let this go unpunished. They will come for us. Maybe in weeks, maybe in months. But they will come. And we will be ready? We will do our best. General Cole has been working on defense plans. Admiral Webb has been training the fleet. Our scientists have been studying alien technology, looking for weaknesses. We have not been idle. Gregory looked up at the blue sky of Earth. Somewhere beyond that blue, the Council was planning its response. Humanity's greatest test was coming. I spent 30 years trying to make peace with them, Gregory said quietly. I really believed we could be friends. Maria put a hand on his shoulder. You did everything you could. The failure was theirs, not yours. They had a chance to treat us fairly, and they chose not to. Now we show them what humans do when we have no choice but to fight. Gregory nodded slowly. The sadness in his heart did not go away. But underneath it, something else was growing. Something that felt like determination. Humanity had tried peace. Now, they would try something different. 6 months passed after Gregory Paulson walked out of the council hall. During those months, humanity worked harder than they had ever worked before. Secret factories hidden in the asteroid belt built new ships day and night. Scientists studied every piece of alien technology they could find, learning its secrets and looking for its weaknesses. Then the Council fleet arrived. 200 warships from 7 different species took positions around the Sol system. They blocked every route in and out. No trade ships could pass. No messages could get through. The Council thought this would break humanity quickly. They thought humans would get hungry and scared and beg to be let back in. They did not understand humans at all. Admiral Catherine Webb stood on the bridge of the Resilience. She watched the enemy fleet on her screens. 200 ships against her 43. The numbers were not good. But numbers were not everything. Admiral, they are hailing us, said Lieutenant Danny Ortiz. Put them through. A Kathrani face appeared on the main screen. It was the same delegate who had threatened Gregory at the council. His scales were dark blue, the color of confidence. Human Admiral, the Kathrani said. I am Fleet Commander Korath. You have one chance to surrender your ships and return to council authority. If you refuse, we will destroy you. Catherine smiled. It was not a friendly smile. Commander Korath, I remember you. You are the one who lied about us to the council. You are the one who started all of this because you wanted some rocks in empty space. Korath's scales flickered with irritation. Those systems belong to the Kathrani by right of proximity. Your species stole them. They belong to no one. We followed every law. But that does not matter anymore, does it? You made your choice. Now you have to live with what comes next. What comes next is your destruction. Catherine shook her head slowly. You know what I have learned about your species, Korth? You have not fought a real war in 3,000 years. Your tactics come from textbooks that are older than human civilization. You have forgotten what it means to fight someone who will not give up. She leaned forward. Come and try to destroy us. We will show you what humans do when our backs are against the wall. She cut the transmission. The first battle happened near Neptune, at the edge of the solar system. Korath sent 12 ships to test the human defenses. It should have been an easy victory. The Council ships were bigger. They had more guns. Their shields were supposed to be stronger. The human task force had only 8 ships, led by the Resilience. Commander Patricia Vance commanded one of them, a fast cruiser called the Swift Justice. All ships, remember your training, Catherine said over the fleet channel. They expect us to fight their way. We are going to fight our way. The Council ships moved in formation, just like their ancient textbooks said they should. They fired their weapons in coordinated patterns. Everything was precise and predictable. The human ships scattered. They moved in ways that made no sense to the Council commanders. They ducked and weaved around asteroids. They used the gravity of moons to slingshot themselves in unexpected directions. They fought like water, flowing around every obstacle. Patricia pushed her ship hard, coming in from an angle the Council ships had not protected. Her weapons found weak spots in their shields, places the aliens had not thought to armor because no one had ever attacked from those directions before. Target their engine sections, Patricia ordered. They have less shielding there. Her gunners did as she said. The Council ship shuddered and began to drift, its engines dead. All around the battlefield, similar scenes played out. Human captains used tricks and tactics that were not in any textbook. They adapted and changed their plans moment by moment. When one approach did not work, they tried another. They were creative and unpredictable. 40-3 minutes after the battle began, it ended. 11 Council ships were destroyed. One was captured, its crew taken prisoner. Human losses were 2 ships damaged. None were destroyed. When news of the battle spread through the galaxy, many species refused to believe it. They thought the reports must be wrong. No younger species had ever defeated a Council enforcement action. It was supposed to be impossible, but it had happened. More battles followed. Each time, the Council sent more ships. Each time, the humans found ways to win. They captured enemy vessels and studied them. They learned how alien technology worked and figured out how to beat it. Human engineers made improvements that should have taken decades to develop. Commander Patricia Vance became famous throughout human space. She won 7 battles in 4 months. Her crew loved her because she kept them alive. Her enemies feared her because she seemed to know what they would do before they did it. One night, after a hard fight near the asteroid belt, Patricia stood alone on the observation deck of her ship. Lieutenant Christopher Dean found her there, staring out at the stars. Commander, you should rest, Christopher said. The crew needs you healthy. Patricia did not turn around. I was thinking about something my father told me once. He said that humans are not the strongest species. We are not the fastest or the smartest, but we are the most stubborn. When we decide something is important, we do not stop until we get it. Christopher stood beside her. He was right. I have seen it in every battle. The Council ships give up when things go bad. They retreat when they take damage. Our ships keep fighting even when everything seems lost. That is because they are fighting for territory, Patricia said. We are fighting for survival. There is no place for us to retreat to. Earth is behind us. Our families are behind us. We cannot lose because losing means losing everything. A message came through the speaker. It was from Admiral Webb. All ship commanders, report to the command station immediately. We have important news. Patricia and Christopher hurried to the briefing room. They found it full of tired officers. Admiral Webb stood at the front, looking more excited than anyone had seen her in months. "I just received word from our intelligence network," Catherine said. "The Council is arguing among themselves. Some species want to send more ships. Others want to negotiate. A few are saying they should never have started this fight." A murmur went through the room. "It gets better," Catherine continued. "3 species that are members of the Council have secretly reached out to us. They want to talk about switching sides." Someone laughed in disbelief. "They want to join us?" "Not exactly. But they are tired of being treated like second-class members. They see what we have done. They see that it is possible to stand up to the older species. And they are starting to wonder if they should do the same." Patricia felt hope stirring in her chest. For months, they had been fighting alone. The idea that others might join them changed everything. "What do we do now?" she asked. Catherine smiled. "Now we keep winning. Every battle we win shows the galaxy that humans cannot be beaten easily. Every victory makes more species think about what they have accepted for too long. We are not just fighting for ourselves anymore. We are fighting for everyone who has ever been pushed down by the Council." That night, Patricia wrote a letter to her mother back on Earth. She told her about the battles, about the hope that was growing, about the strange feeling of being part of something bigger than herself. "We started this fight because we had no choice," she wrote. "But now I think we are fighting for something more. We are showing the galaxy a different way. A way where everyone is equal. A way where no one has to kneel." She sent the message and went to sleep. Tomorrow would bring more battles. But for the first time since this all began, Patricia believed they might actually win. Not just the war, but something much bigger. 18 months after the blockade began, the Galactic Council asked for peace talks. They have lost over 300 ships. Their economy was suffering because trade routes were disrupted. And worst of all, other species were starting to question Council authority. The peace conference was held on a space station orbiting a dead star, far from any civilization. This was neutral ground where neither side had an advantage. Ships from both humanity and the Council kept their distance while the talks happened. President Maria Santos led the human team. Admiral Catherine Webb came with her, wearing her dress uniform covered with new medals. Ambassador Gregory Paulson was there too, looking older but somehow stronger than before. And Commander Patricia Vance, hero of a dozen battles, stood at their side. The Council sent their most important leaders. The Kethrani were there, their scales dull with shame. The presiding arbiter had come personally, his ancient body supported by machines that helped him breathe. Representatives from all 12 elder species filled their side of the table. "We are here to end the fighting," the arbiter began, his voice crackling through speakers. "The Council offers humanity full restoration of membership. All privileges, all trade rights, all protections. Everything will be as it was before Directive 7742. Gregory leaned forward. "That offer is not acceptable." The Council delegates shifted in their seats. They had expected humans to be grateful for this chance to return. "Not acceptable?" the arbiter asked. "We are offering everything you had before." "Exactly," Maria said, her voice calm but strong. "Before, we were junior members who could be threatened whenever it suited you. Before, we had no real voice in decisions that affected us. Before, we trusted you to treat us fairly, and you broke that trust." Admiral Webb spoke next. "We studied your history. Do you know what we found? In 8,000 years, no species that joined as a junior member has ever been raised to elder status. Not one. Your system is designed to keep the powerful species powerful and everyone else beneath them." The Kethrani delegate's scales turned pale. He had not expected humans to understand this truth. "You claim to represent fairness and peace," Catherine continued. But you only gave peace to those who obeyed without question. You only treated fairly those who were already on top. Everyone else had to accept whatever crumbs you gave them. Maria stood up. Humanity will not return to that system. We have a different proposal. She activated a holographic display. It showed a document that human lawyers and diplomats had been writing for months. We propose a new organization, Maria said. We call it the Free Worlds Alliance. Any species can join as an equal member. No elder species, no junior species. Every member has the same vote, the same rights, the same voice. The council delegates looked at each other with alarm. This was not what they had planned for at all. This is absurd, said a delegate from the Varanth species. Some civilizations are thousands of years old. Some are barely centuries old. How can you treat them the same? Gregory smiled. We treat them the same because age does not equal wisdom. Because being first does not make you better. Because every thinking being deserves the same respect, whether their species discovered fire 1,000,000 years ago or 1,000 years ago. The talks continued for 3 days. The council tried everything to change humanity's position. They offered wealth. They threatened punishment. They predicted that the Free Worlds Alliance would collapse without council guidance, but humanity did not move. They had fought too hard and lost too many friends to accept anything less than true equality. In the end, the council had to accept reality. They could not force humans back into their system. And if they continued the war, they risked losing even more ships and more prestige. The final agreement was simple. The council would recognize human territory and stop all hostile actions. Humanity would form the Free Worlds Alliance. Neither side would attack the other. Trade would continue between individual members who wanted it. When the documents were signed, Gregory Paulson walked to the observation window. The dead star outside gave no light, but the galaxy was still full of points of brightness. Patricia Vance joined him there. You look thoughtful, Ambassador. I was remembering the day I walked out of the council chamber, Gregory said. I was so sad. I thought I had failed. I thought everything I worked for was destroyed. And now? Gregory turned to face her. Now I see that walking away was not a failure. It was a beginning. Sometimes you have to let go of what you have to find something better. Back on Earth, the news of the peace spread quickly. People gathered in the streets to celebrate. The war was over. Humanity had survived. But more than that, they had changed the galaxy. Within 1 year, 17 species asked to join the Free Worlds Alliance. Many of them were former junior members of the council who had watched humanity's fight with hope in their hearts. They had seen that it was possible to stand up to the older species. They had seen that the council was not unbeatable. 5 years later, the Free Worlds Alliance had grown to include 42 species. They built new stations and colonies. They shared technology and knowledge freely. They created something that had never existed before in the galaxy, a true partnership of equals. Admiral Catherine Webb eventually retired. She spent her last years on Earth, watching her grandchildren play in a garden under blue skies. She had become a grandmother, just as she had hoped. Her granddaughter, a bright girl with her grandmother's sharp eyes, loved to hear stories about the war. Grandma, were you scared? The little girl asked one evening. Catherine thought about it. Yes, I was scared. Everyone was scared. We were fighting against ships that were supposed to be better than ours. We were fighting against civilizations that were older than human history. But you won anyway. We did. Do you know why? The little girl shook her head. Catherine pulled her granddaughter close. Because we did not fight alone. Every human worked together. Scientists and soldiers, teachers and builders, young and old. And we did not fight just for ourselves. We fought for an idea. The idea that everyone deserves to be free. that everyone deserves to be treated with respect. Is that why other species joined us? That is exactly why. They saw what we were building. They wanted to be part of it. They were tired of being told they were not good enough, not old enough, not important enough. When we showed them a different way, they came running. The little girl thought about this for a while. Then she smiled. I want to go to space someday. I want to meet all the different species. Catherine smiled back. You will. The galaxy is open to you in ways it never was for my generation. You can go anywhere, do anything, be anything. That is what we fought for. That is what we won. Far above them, the stars shone like they always had. But the galaxy beneath those stars was different now. Humanity had come to space looking for friends and found enemies instead. They had tried peace and been met with threats. When pushed, they had pushed back Dodd, and in the end, they had not just survived. They had built something new, something better. A place where every species could stand tall, where no one had to kneel, where the future belonged to everyone who was brave enough to reach for it. The Galactic Council still existed, but it was smaller now and less important. Many of its former junior members had left to join the Free Worlds Alliance. The older species were finally learning a lesson they should have learned long ago. True power does not come from holding others down. It comes from lifting everyone up. On a quiet night in a garden on Earth, an old woman watched the stars with her granddaughter. Above them, ships from a dozen different species passed through the sky, going to places that humans had once only dreamed of. This was the future that humanity had fought for. This was the peace they had earned, and it was only the beginning.